My name's Isaac Neuwelt. I am Ugandan. In Germany, in the state of Bayern. I'm here for studies since 2022 in December. So back in Kampala before I came to Germany, fortunately I had visited Germany already. So I had already an impression, I had an image. But my life in Kampala was a life of an entrepreneur because I had founded my company in around 2016 that is dealing in IT services. And so for all those years since 2016, I was self-employed. Come, we live life.
You guys are in the dorm, right?
Hey, you come. We're waiting for you. So for me, I think the journey starts from my diploma that I did in the field of printing, ideally graphic design and printing technology, where I was working with a German expert who came and established a training institution, and I had the opportunity to study there. And through this institution, that's where I got my first contact with the German culture, with the German people, and actually the German language as well. And so, after graduating in this 2-year diploma, and since it was relatively a new field in the country, me and a colleague were retained to offer training because we could not find other teachers for this specific course. So I work in this college for about 4 years. And that's when I realized that, okay, there is a lot that I feel I need to achieve. I felt like there's more I can give the world than maybe teaching 2 years a group of about 8 or to 10 students. And so that's where my journey starts. So after the 4 years, I'm thinking, okay, how can I exploit all my abilities? Then I decide that I'm going to start an IT service company in the line still of media design, still of printing services, but also designing websites and a lot of digital marketing. And this was also inspired by another second diploma that I did in software engineering that introduced me to these web technologies and made me appreciate more the programming languages and this kind of frameworks. And so I resigned my job and start a company on my savings. And so as I'm running this company, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, yes, you notice there's development, but there are also so many challenges, being that there's no ecosystem that supports young businesses, young startup in IT industry. And so because of these accumulating challenges, after 3 years, 4 years, you're feeling the speed at which the company is growing, the challenge, the struggle. They are making you reflect and thinking, okay, what do I need to do to make this work? My conclusion now became that I personally also maybe need to step my level a little bit higher. That meant getting an education. I was not very eager to join universities in Uganda to do a bachelor's because I didn't feel the input will equal to the output that I was looking for. And so what do? I start looking out. Why Germany? Because I had started learning German and I had reached B1 level. According to the European scale or standard of gauging language proficiency, B1 is sort of like in the middle. And secondly, most important was also that the education here is relatively, actually I would say free. Not entirely, like you don't pay euros, but compared to US, compared to Canada, Australia, it is free. That's what I can say. And I'm thinking, yes, German is also tech-wise. You're thinking, yeah, it's a developed country. Plus, I also had a support system, friends that I got to know in my time as a student in this German led school institution, and also when I was working there. So you have this familiarity to this culture, which you partially have learned the language, and you are visited, by the way. You feel like the resistance would be less in that direction compared to trying to go to US where everybody's going. The biggest challenge is an internal conflict that you get in yourself because you believe in your abilities. You know you can do something when you put your mind to it. And then you start looking for the documentation, the requirements. You're starting to check things off. And then the entire aura around your application, it's a feeling that you're not actually needed. You're being hindered from going to wherever you want to go by a system, you see. So you have to compile a lot of paperwork, which of course, as a Ugandan, it's a bit new because you're never required to have a lot of that kind of paperwork. Bring this document, bring that document, go look for this. It has to be notarized, certified. But it's doable. It's not the hardest thing. The hardest thing was I do this university research. I'm looking for courses that I want. I wanted a good mix between business and technology. And information systems is coming up. Computer science is an option, but it's a bit too deep in technology. But at this point, I don't mind it so much. So the challenge is, for these courses, most of them, they require a language level, German, of C1. Now, remember, I am at B1. B1, I would need to go to B2, then I go to C1. Now, C1 is almost your close to professional business language, I need to increase on my German. So I enroll back, in the language school. I study B2, I study C1. And now I realize, okay, in my city, Kampala, the language school, Goethe Institute, does not have a license to offer either B2 exam or C1 exam. So now you have to look for the closest center or school. And the closest was in Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya is our neighboring country. And now I have to organize and actually go to Kenya for the exams. So I do this C1 exam and definitely I fail because there are 4 parts: listening, talking, and writing and reading. So if you fail one of them, you failed, even if you've passed the other 3. So I come back to Kampala and I now have to replan. I have to refine my search criteria. That before I was just looking at financial and the course, how it fits to my needs. Now I'm looking at also the language level, courses that are close to English, or they're just saying, okay, B1 is enough. After 2018, I applied to around 10 institutions. Maybe there are also applied universities and universities. By then, I didn't know so much the difference. And then I got admission to about 6 of them. The conditions are that at the time of registration, you have to give these language proficiencies. And you cannot do like those levels in a couple of months. So I just give up. I give up and I'm like, maybe this wasn't meant to be. Let me just keep running my company, and hopefully I will find something that works. For me, I was blessed in a sense that I talked of the connections, the people that I had got to know, because there is also an option that legally somebody, a citizen who is financially stable, can declare that they will be responsible for your financial needs. The other option is the blocked account, and the third option is the scholarship. So I get this declaration from a German citizen, a person who is very close to me, and I add it to the other things. So the belief was that I have enough skills from both my company, the skills that I've learned through teaching in the college, to get myself, up and running when I reach here. Of course, you have to leave a buffer of integrating, learning a bit of your way around the language and the culture, but that was the understanding. It's a special feeling because you fly from a very small airport and then you land. I landed in Munich airport. For me, the difference was not that I'm seeing this for the first time. The difference was that I'm going to be here longer than I ever had to be. Because I'd come and I'm here 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You always feel like a visitor. But now you land and it's going to be years, not just 1 month. And so it feels surreal because you are seeing all these enormous infrastructure, you're seeing all these train connections, But the beauty is that you're not there to navigate all this alone. Somebody's waiting for you to pick you up. And this is something maybe so many international students don't get, to have this support when you land. And someone holds you by the hand, they drive you home, and you have this warm, familiar welcome, and you're feeling that, okay, this is now new. You have still fresh emotions from everything you've had to detach from. You have the fear of, what am I really doing? But in all that, you still know that, okay, you've made the right decision, although you may not feel like that. Yes, the culture here is quite reserved. Structure is, yes, there. Because if you look at everything around, the climate has actually forced people to be disorganized. For example, if I think of winter, if you did not plan before winter, most likely you might die. But like I said, I did not go straight into hostel life where you're living alone. So I'm living in a family setting, people that you know, and so you have this familiar orientation. I was helped to actually come to the university in the first week, so someone was coming with me because it's not in the same city. I land in Munich, I'm staying in Munich, but my university is like 50 minutes away by train and 45 to 48 minutes by car. And so someone knows that I cannot really survive alone, just finding my way. And all this I really appreciate. And I was like, this is different, because someone knows that they need to orient you. They need to not throw you in the water. They're giving you these steps so that you can now learn to walk alone. When it comes to reserved culture, these are more of capitalistic or industrialized cultures where a lot of productivity is attached to every minute of the day, every hour of the day. And so everybody's chasing time. Everybody, I think, has almost whatever they need, in the sense of, if you need food, the basic needs. Not in the sense of, okay, I would like a friend or person that I can talk to, no. But the basic needs: accommodation, health insurance. So when you fall sick, you can go to the hospital. You have maybe credit cards or whatever, so you can never lack food. And so there is this reluctance to be very nice to other people because you feel like you may not need them actually for anything, which is different from Uganda. But the way I came to combat this, or to try to survive in that, is that now I knew that there are these organizations where you can, places where you can volunteer. Sports is one of those. So for me, since I was also a basketballer, I love the game. One of the things was to look out for a club, everything here runs through structures of clubs, and you just don't go and find people playing, and it's not easy. So I joined this club, and then the challenge is that now you feel every day you feel you don't belong, because the drills they're doing, some of complex, and the language. And so I made the decision, like, okay, I cannot play, because first, you don't get paid, you have to pay membership. Second, you're feeling bad every time you leave practice, because there is not that time for you to get to that level of understanding the commands and understanding the drills. Then I decided, okay, if I cannot play myself because of the demand, I can't train 3 times a week. I have to study, I have to work here and there. I will train the kids, Academic shock, one of them was how small, for example, the classes were in terms of number of students. But secondly, how very approachable and culturally close the students were to the professors, that you could speak, of course, respectively with the professor, but with this level of access, that they are there for you and they're there to entertain your knowledge or whatever you're trying to process. So it shocked me, and it took me a very long time to adjust, because you're coming from this culture where a professor is way higher than, in the hierarchy. So you're looking at them as, with so much not even respect per se, but also like so much fear. Now, coming to the difference between education here in Germany or in Bayern, for me it was what I expected, to be honest. What I expected was a perfect blend between business and technology, and I happened to have landed in the course that was exactly designed for people like me, and that's the International Information Systems, a course where you had to do at least minimum 2 foreign languages was part of the requirement of the course. A course that was initially predominantly taught in English, but of course, it was also communicated that from the 4th semester or the 5th semester, there will be some elective subjects that are taught in German. So in this time, you're also learning German as a foreign language. So the difference was, or the difference is, that here you're learning practical things. Most of the professors have been in the industry. Some have been consultants for the big companies that we know. They have run projects. These professors are the ones that are also teaching you. So whatever they're teaching you, both comes from their research, but also from their experience working in the industry. And when they put this together, you're getting the knowledge that you can just apply directly. So the difference is that the professors have both the practical experience and the academic experience. For me, the challenges I had with the language were, in terms of work, was a problem. Second, you feel isolated in the sense you see students out there, some that you would like to talk to, but you know that you cannot communicate very well with them. And thirdly, you face a lot of problems trying to understand your orientation. You see documents that are addressed to you, and you do not fully understand them. You see as signposts, you see transportation wordings and everything that you need to understand, and everything you're slow and you have to translate, and technology and everything. So if this is the life you're living in, the environment you're living in, you're so much limited, because everything you have to work, like your brain has to work 3 times harder until you get used to everything. The fact is, you've made a decision to move, but you've also left and made some sacrifices, and you're internally conflicted in the sense that you're asking every day, what am I doing? Because you come from an environment where you're the boss, you're running your company, where it's a lot of stress also, but you know, you make the decisions, and then here, everything is reminding you you're foreign, and then for me, that some of the tough times came in winter when you're so much isolated. You do not have people you can talk to break down complex emotions. And so there was not like a one specific moment, but there was a period where you're not saying, okay, I want to go back, but you're really asking yourself whether it was worth it. You're not happy, literally. You're not happy, but then you know that you're doing this because you have to do it. Finance, this is one of the premium uh, topics or discussions for international students, I guess, everywhere in the world. Student life here is not as expensive as you could fear. Of course, there are basic expenses which are well communicated earlier before you even come. And those are insurance, health insurance, because it's a mandate. Secondly, rent. I would say that the German system in Bayern, especially, that's what I know. I will not generalize. They have also made some provisions that students can get cheaper accommodation. So with this, insurance, health insurance per se, accommodation, and now the eating is where now you need to gamble. You buy rice, you buy this kind of sauce, you cook, you see how it works out. And so you're experimenting. And for a long time, you can find, okay, this is my budget, roughly maybe 200 euros a month. You see? Now, when it comes to how I survived, when you just learned the maybe the first 2 months, the challenge is really high to find something you can do. Yes, you're professional, you have a lot of knowledge that you could apply, but you have no opportunity to apply this knowledge. Then you have to look for jobs that anybody can do. And these are casual jobs. So one, I was able to work, I think, for 2 or 3 months in these Amazon warehouses. Then later on, I knew that I had to find something else. And in the meantime, I was also trying to look for ways of selling my professional knowledge that I knew. So I was able to also find like a work student job, professional web full stack web development. And this was a very big step. Of course, as a different person, the skin is different. When you walk in a room, you also have this bias personally that you look different and people are going to look at you different. Of course, in the university setting, it's understood that everybody or most of everybody is here on merit. But out of the university, there's always a question mark of how you got here, whether you're here legally, whether you're wanted. So, like feeling out of place happened. One, because you're feeling, oh, am I too old? Or two, you're like, oh, am I smart enough or something? But then I also notice these emotions. I capture them because I also don't want to be consumed by this kind of mentality or bias. Of course, now that I live here, the comparison is not very fresh, because you settle in certain routines. Of course, now when you ask, I'm forced to draw both worlds together and put comparisons on them. One of the things that comes to my mind is sorting the garbage. In Kampala, Uganda, everything goes in the same and you throw. There's no respect for disposal of garbage, Here, there is a very unique culture in terms of keeping the environment clean. Secondly, also, you get to learn to plan your time. For example, if it's a journey, you plan everything. The time you need to walk from the house door up to the bus or train stop, how long the bus needs to drive, how long you need to walk from where you stop to wherever, to the destination. And the other third is to give information or feedback. In this, I mean it twice, in two ways. One, in Uganda, there is this relative communication where you only communicate when you feel it's really, really necessary. But here, person will call you and say, I'm running late. The train has delayed 5 minutes. So just so you know, and the other person can plan. And then feedback in the sense that in every course we do, the professors will ask for feedback. And they ask for feedback not in the sense of they want to just fulfill a certain requirement, but they also want to know how can they improve the course to make it more entertaining, but also more help the students learn more. So those are three things that I can already export, and go with. When I look at my bachelor that I have just completed, I see, first of all, I know the knowledge that I've picked up, because as much as there has been the need to pass, get grades and pass and complete, there has also been for me the active need to actually get the knowledge, that I really, really came forward and wanted. And that's why also in some sense, my focus was, some level was not so much on the grades, but was a little bit more on, do I understand? How much do I learn out of this? What do I need to learn? So it represents a sacrifice of leaving a company that I ran for 7 months. And of course, the company also suffered, me not being there, meaning it can't operate as normal. But then it also represents possibilities, not an end to a certain period, but a start to a new kind of potential, to new possibilities. One of those is that with that bachelor's, I can easily work anywhere in the world. And three, I am already actually building on that bachelor's to do a master's. I come from we are very closely knit family. We support each other. We are not every day in each other's ears trying to find out but we always know when to jump in when someone needs help. And for me, I wish so much that my mom would be there to just watch and see, because she has seen you struggle. You've talked to her about some of the things, the desires, the visions you have. Of course, always as parents, I think they have an image of how they want their children to turn out. But for her, she doesn't even know what this means, because maybe she knew she wanted you to study and maybe work in an environment that she also knows. But now I'm in another country, speaking another language. And so having her to be there and to see this, I think would be priceless for me. Issues come up and you're being asked, why don't you go back to your country? But these are things you have to deal with, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, to say, okay. But I was asked by a friend, a person that I feel can ask me such a question, and they're not asking it with the wrong motives. And when I checked myself, I realized that the knowledge you get here does not have a direct market. If, for example, I go back to Uganda, I wouldn't have the opportunity to apply even 40% of what I've learned here. I mean that you go back to a system that does not exist, very disorganized structures and everything, and you come with this knowledge that requires some level of order. Secondly, with the level of specialization here, it means that you can go one direction deep and you can be able to innovate and create a lot of value in that direction. When you go back to Uganda, the market is not as deep, is not as specialized. But then also, I feel like the journey or the transition is not well complete or fully complete, because the goal you have to think about is, my target was partly to get the education, second, to get the networks, or to learn how to get the networks, to know how to look for investment, financial investment, because that's a big thing. Here, you can get people who understand what it means to invest in technology. And also, you want to get return on investment. Here, you can work and be able to get, a good living. But if I went there, then it's doubtable if I am to use that term. It is worth it. And this is said with the understanding of what it means to study in Uganda and look for jobs that are in the line of the education or the profession you've studied. Looking at the current unemployment statistics, where old people are not getting out of offices because they feel they are not secure enough in their retirement. The universities are producing graduates every year in hundreds, thousands. Now, if a student has the opportunity to go into an economy where there's a little bit of assurance that if you go through all this stress, you've studied, you've faced whatever racism challenges you have faced, or whatever language barrier problems you've faced, cultural shocks, but at the end of the day, you have this achievement. You have the little bit of assurance or insurance that you're going to find a job. It may not be as easy as maybe I make it sound, but the chances or the probabilities are way higher than down there, because there it's try and error, it's nepotism, So for me, in this journey as an international student in Germany, in Bayern, there's a couple of things, because when you're out there, you're back home, you're dreaming of a life beyond the schools, the universities, beyond your town, a life away from your family. For any reason, everybody has varying reasons. One thing that every time is coming to my attention or awareness is that you have no idea of what it means. What it means to be here, what it means to have different foods, what it means to speak a new language, to learn a new language, to be in a different culture. I don't want to tell you everything is roses here, that opportunities are just there to grab. No, there is a genuine struggle, in the sense that you're competing first with other international students, second with native people, but also you're not as welcome as you'd imagine you would be. Is it worth it? Yes, but it's not as easy as also you'd imagine. So it is something that you need to prepare yourself for, knowing that all these things that you've known all your life are going to change, and you're going to be exposed to completely new sets of rules, to obey certain kind of standards in order to fit in. Yeah, we are here now. Now we try to look for masters. Okay.
Now,
Okay, let me calculate. Okay, no claim vaso.
next time.
Okay. Kari, yeah. Kampala sunshine. My name for Mojitade. German Schnitzel. I've never been a fan of Matoke. Deutsche Bahn, even if it's late. Deutsche Bahn. Late night coffee. I'm a night owl. Fulfilling.